Hi, this is Judy McKenzie from TiVo Consulting. Today, our brief conversation is on managerial courage. And do you have it? Managerial courage. I've got this sentence to say, and it is got a ton of stuff in it. So, saying what needs to be said to the right person at the right time in the right way. Now, I am talking to an audience that is primarily working within a business environment, but you can take this information anywhere. You can take it into your family, your community, your church, anywhere you want to go. Courage is courage, and that's why I've used the quote that speaks courage. But this particular session is going to be courage in the workplace, and we're calling it managerial courage. So, this skill set is not an easy one to teach, because what it does is it gets into a whole bunch of personal issues that people have. Some people are conflict avoiders. They don't like um, they don't like taking the heat. They're so afraid to be wrong. They are afraid of getting very emotional because often when tough situations happen, there's a lot of emotions. They don't know what to do with them. Given all of that, there are these three ranges of skills within the whole concept of managerial courage. So the first one, of course, is skilled. If you're skilled at it, I'm going to describe what that looks like. If you're unskilled at it, most people recognize when people are unskilled because that's where workplace issues start to happen and trust issues happen. And then there's the overused skills, which are sometimes can look like bully behavior. So we'll get into what each of these managerial courage competencies look like. So if you are skilled at managerial courage, uh, these are people who are able to say what needs to be said in such a way that it's actionable. So it doesn't shut down a conversation. It's not negative. It's not bully or bossy. It is, they're usually statements, and the intention is to improve performance. They also let people know where they stand, which is most people will say that is so refreshing. You may not like the message, but at least you know where you stand. And they can also, people who are skilled in managerial courage can provide tough feedback to staff. And although it's difficult, it gives the staff member the opportunity to improve their performance and to make the necessary changes to be successful. People who are also skilled in managerial courage, they are able to deal with people problems. It's not easy, but they're able to deal with them effectively. So they don't allow people issues within the workplace to fester away until they become incredibly negative. So let me give you an example. A skilled manager in the courage area, if they had, let's say they had a staff member who was gossipy and who liked to spread rumors, and generally they're the kind of people that stir the pot, if you know what I mean. A manager with courage, when they hear about this, they would have a conversation with that staff member, letting them know that that kind of activity was not helpful in the workplace, and they would ask them to stop that. And it's not an easy conversation to have, but it's one that could have it, and that way it sets the stage of what people expect. So it is that's just one example. There's all kinds of them. Where someone is talking too loud on the phone within an open workplace, and the manager is uncomfortable asking them to A, not have so many personal calls in the workplace, or B, to keep their voice down, Or C, go find a quiet place where they can have a conversation, where they can raise their voice to what their normal level is. But you see what I mean is that they can take on these kinds of issues. Some of them are small, some of them are bigger, but if they're left undone, they become sore spots for a lot of people. And what it does is it makes the manager look weak and ineffective. Unskilled, by talking about, we sort of segued into that by talking about what courage looks like. An unskilled are those managers that do not know how to deal with any of these kind of day-to-day issues that come up. They hope that they go away or someone else will deal with them. They cannot give tough feedback when necessary. It is too difficult for them, and the downside is that people don't know where they stand. They don't realize there's an issue, so when it gets to a point where it is something where some strong action has to be taken, the employee is often really surprised because they didn't know. Unskilled managers in managerial courage, they do not step up to issues. The small ones, the big ones, they don't step up to any of them. And these are the real conflict avoiders. And they don't take a lead on difficult issues. They just don't want to do it. They're intimidated by others with power, or they just hope that someone else will step up and take the lead on that. They often look at things in a win-lose situation instead of a win-win. They don't know how to get to that. Unskilled managers in the courage area are very obvious and very frustrating to those around them. And, I'm sure you're probably reflecting on a few of those in your mind as we speak. So then there's a third area of an overused skill, and this is someone who's so darn comfortable with confrontation that it becomes almost abusive. And they're overly critical of things that don't even need to be looked at. I had a manager one time who was so overcritical that she just it was like she liked to hear herself talk, and sometimes I think these folks like to do that. They're very direct. They're very heavy-handed. They never choose their battles. They take every battle on, and so they're just like a bull in a china shop. They seem to be way too comfortable giving negative feedback, so they're often thought as they're like the dark cloud in the workplace. They provide way too much negative feedback, and they don't go into the positive feedback side. So that's what an overuse skill is. And keep in mind that as people learn to create their managerial courage, that you don't go too far over that line and go into the overuse side. So that now you have an idea of what these three areas look like, and I'm going to give you 8 ideas about what to do, how to help people who may not be displaying the type of managerial courage that you'd like to see. So the first thing is make sure that you have all the information that you need about the issue. Look at all the different sources. If there is an issue, let's use the one of talking too loud on the phone in an open concept office, that you get all the feedback that it's not something that's just happened once or twice. It is an issue rather than an incident. And so that way you can go to the person with the correct information. The second thing to do is to make sure that you give the information to a person who can do something about it. So if you hear about something within the workplace that has you concerned, or you think something needs to be done, find the right person. Don't gossip about it. Don't talk to everybody so that everybody gets all wound up. It's a matter of this talking to the right person is taking the courage to be able to do something about it. So you can do something about it if you go to the right person. And that may take a few asking, who would be the right person to talk to this about? Go there. Take the position and go there. The third point I have is, if you have a very difficult message to deliver, don't tell stories or don't get off point. I don't want you to go in and just like, bam, here's the bad news. But when people believe there is some bad news happening, and I used to coach leaders all the time, if we were doing downsizing, this is, one of the most difficult things to do, or terminating someone, is you have to have a very clear message that you've worked out before, and it's not blunt, but it is on point. People's attention span really, really deteriorate when they get anxious. And so the best thing is to, write out your message before, practice it, and then stay on point. Timing is everything. So having a tough conversation with someone who's in the middle of an adult temper tantrum is likely not a good time to deliver a tough message. You may want to set up a time where they have an opportunity to be calmer, and that, just recognize where you're at within all of the different emotions that the person is experiencing. And if they're on their way out the door, don't, oh, by the way, boom, here's some bad news. Make sure you set up a situation in a time where they have enough time to collect themselves, or to be able to have some privacy, those kinds of things. So watch your timing when you go to have a tough conversation. And the other thing is that, is this personal? And my point to this is, do you find yourself in a position where you are always having to deliver bad news or tough conversations? I think that if you find that you are the one doing that all the time, are you overusing your managerial courage skills? Are you the bear? Are you like the dark cloud of the office? Or is someone else not pulling their weight and you're having to do the tough stuff for many people? Just be very, very careful with this, that you aren't perceived as the person who only delivers bad news, because being good at it doesn't mean you have to do it all the time. If you have your managerial skills in balance, you should only have to do this, once in a blue moon. It shouldn't happen all the time. My final point in keeping this short and sweet is, keep an open mind. You may receive information when you're delivering a tough message that may change the situation. Managerial courage does not mean having a closed mind. Managerial courage is to get at the bottom of issues and make changes so that the workplace is a healthy, happy, productive place to be. So always keep an open mind, that although you've gone and you've got all kinds of information, you've done all your homework, listen with both your ears. I hope that this brief chat around managerial courage whets your appetite to read more about it. I love this quote, that courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear. Because to be courageous is challenging, but it is also rewarding. So I encourage you, think big, and we will talk again in the next little while. Thanks for joining me.